In life, disappointment is bound to happen from time to time. But sometimes disappointment is just not the right word for when a certain event happens. And when it comes to head coach Dan Campbell, what would be a more appropriate word for him was that he was robbed. We're going to talk about it. So stay tuned.
What are we? What makes us what we are and what we're going to be? It's grit. It's what we started with last year, guys. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.
Can definitely compete with the big dogs.
10-5 end zone touchdown Detroit Lions.
You guys are unbelievable, man. I'm telling you.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions friends, fans, and family members. Welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike. And as always, we're diving on in. Folks, I'm going to talk to y'all, again, as if I was just, sitting across from you, just giving you guys my 2 cents, just, shooting the breeze with you. I have been a staunch supporter of Dan Campbell ever since we hired him. I've been a staunch supporter of the front office. I have been a staunch supporter of Jared Goff. I have been a staunch supporter of my Detroit Lions. Now, I will say this. While to a certain degree, that does make me biased, I do believe that to a also much more certain degree that my objectivity for logic is a hell of a lot better than most people. Now, why am I saying this? The reason I'm saying this is because I'm setting up my argument for why Dan Campbell got absolutely robbed last night at the NFL Honors of the Coach of the Year award. I can say this, and I know that for some people, especially those that are not Lions fans, they're going to look at it and is just going to say, oh, well, you're just crying, you're whining, you think it's unfair, blah, 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 this, and all that other happy jazz. Okay, let's put this out there for what it is. Dan Campbell, as I'm going to show up here on the screen, finished second in the voting for Coach of the Year and lost to the guy who won the Coach of the Year award, Kevin O'Connell. Now, why does that whole situation aggravate me? It's not because Kevin O'Connell plays for the Vikings. I could give a damn rat's ass less about the fact that, he's the coach for the Vikings. I couldn't care. The reason why, or rather I should say reasons why, I have such an innate and immense problem with Kevin O'Connell winning the award over Dan Campbell is because of this. Let's first and foremost understand something here about the nature of the franchises that both of these men are in charge of. Let's talk about the Vikings for a minute. Number one, the Vikings are a team that has had much more success in recent time, recent memory, in not only, more playoff victories, more playoff berths, more, division titles, and on top of that, the Vikings can claim at least one thing that the Lions don't have. They have been to Super Bowls. So, the Vikings also, let's just call it for what it is, are not a team that over the course of the majority of their time associated with the NFL have been considered a laughingstock program. The Vikings have had quite a number of years where they have had a lot of good players and great success. Okay. Now let's talk about the Lions here, which as a Lions fan, I believe I can speak for all of us when, one, the Lions have had to deal with all of the jokes, the jeers, the insults, that, oh, we're the laughing stock of the NFL. We're the worst team in the NFL. You go to the Lions, your career is going to die. You're just going there to collect a paycheck. We Lions fans have heard it all before. We've dealt with it all before. And you know what? Most of the time we had to smile and take it on the chin because that was just the nature of what it meant to be a Lions fan, was you're just going to have to deal with the crappiness of it. So when I put that out there, who do you think should get an award for being the coach of the year for a guy that is leading those franchises? Kevin O'Connell or Dan Campbell? Because let me put it to you this way. If you want to talk about, oh, well, you're not being fair because let's talk about what's happened more recently. Okay, fine. Let's actually talk about what's happened more recently. Has Kevin O'Connell, under any circumstances, had a season where he's had less than 5 wins? I don't think so. Let me ask you this. When Kevin O'Connell took over the job for the Vikings from Mike Zimmer, if I recall correctly, Kevin O'Connell, he was a winning coach the very first season he became the head coach. What was Dan Campbell's first record with the Detroit Lions? 3-13-1. And, oh, mind you, when Dan Campbell took over the job from Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn, he was taking over a quite literal dumpster fire. There was almost virtually no damn talent on this roster. I mean, that's the truth. Almost no damn talent was on this roster whatsoever. When Kevin O'Connell took over for the damn Vikings, he had a plethora of talent in vast comparison to what Campbell had. Now let's think about this for half a second. Since those two started, if I recall correctly, the Vikings have won the division 1 time. 1. The Lions have won it twice. But here's what I find most disturbing about this whole thing, is that Campbell has shown clear and steady progression of getting better and better every single year. Kevin O'Connell has not. Because think about this. Kevin O'Connell was a winner the very first year. Oh, and then, by the way, was a one and done in the playoffs in the wild card to the New York Giants. Whereas when Dan Campbell got to his first playoff berth, won 2 games in a row, got to the conference championship game. Whereas Kevin O'Connell has yet to get to the conference championship game as the Vikings head coach. In fact, both times that Kevin O'Connell has gotten to the playoffs as the Vikings head coach, with, mind you, if I recall correctly, I think it was a 13-win season and a 14-win season. They've both been one-and-done exits. Both one-and-done exits. And both in the wild card round. Whereas Campbell won in the wild card round against the Rams, won in the divisional round against the Bucs, got to the conference championship game. Now, we were a one and done this year against the divisional round opponent of the Washington Commanders. But my whole point is this. Part of the problem I'm having here is that if you're taking a look at what the two gentlemen have done to get to the point where they're at, Dan Campbell is much more deserving of the award than Kevin O'Connell was, just from a large, grand scope picture. Now, some people are going to say, but David, it's coach of the year. All that other stuff doesn't matter. Okay, fine. Let me put this out there, since a lot of people have already said it, and I agree. Who did more this year to ensure their team's success? Was it Kevin O'Connell or was it Dan Campbell? Dan Campbell by 1,000 miles. Because let's think about this. Dan Campbell had how many different starters on freaking IR throughout the course of the year? It was well over 20. Could have been damn near 30. But most of those guys were on the defensive side of the ball. Campbell's an offensive-minded coach, which means he had to trust and rely on his coordinator, Glenn to ensure that the defense was prepared each and every week to get ready to, be ready to play. What was Kevin O'Connell's major obstacle? Oh, that's right. You didn't have your rookie, again, let me say that, your rookie quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, play. Instead, you had to rely on a veteran quarterback, a guy that's been in the league, going on 7-8 years, to come on in and save the day. Wait a minute here. Rookie quarterback, unproven, untested, has not yet done anything in the NFL, versus a veteran guy who has been to how many different programs? Oh, that's right. He was with the Jets, with the Panthers. He was also with the 49ers. Looked pretty good as a backup with the 49ers. And, remind me here. Like I said with Dan Campbell, Dan Campbell's an offensive-minded coach, whereas the majority of his problems as far as navigating this season were on the defense. What's Kevin O'Connell? Oh, that's right. Not only is he an offensive-minded coach, he's a former damn quarterback, also known as a quarterback whisperer. So, let me see here. Whose job was more harder to ensure that their team was successful this year? A guy who's a former quarterback trying to take a veteran quarterback to have the best year of his season, or best year of his career, and salvage that, or a guy who's an offensive-minded coach, whereas, majority of his defense is in and out the entire year with either season-ending injuries or injuries that are going to have their guys out for multiple weeks. Who had a much more difficult time, much more difficult job to try and ensure that their teams were successful? If you're going to try and tell me it was freaking Kevin O'Connell by making Sam Darnold into a one-year wonder when, oh, by the way, Kevin O'Connell is a former quarterback, so he's speaking the exact same damn language that Sam Darnold is, you're a freaking idiot. Because Dan Campbell had to deal with injuries. Whereas, how many injuries really did the freaking, Vikings have to deal with? They had to really deal with two main injuries, two massive ones. Their left tackle, which, oh, by the way, they traded for his replacement almost immediately. And then, like I said, J.J. McCarthy, which, again, you had a rookie quarterback, which you didn't know what the hell you were going to get. You were basing everything off of what you had in the preseason, which is a very small and very inaccurate sampling size to what you're going to get in the regular season, mind you. But then on top of that, like I said, how many times have we seen a veteran quarterback who has gone from teams in the past where he didn't really get a fair shake, because let's call it what it is, Sam Darnold, when he was with the Jets, really didn't get a fair shake. He comes to the most talented team he has ever had. He's got Justin Jefferson. He's got Jordan Addison. He's got TJ Hawkinson. He's got Aaron Jones. He's got Kevin O'Connell, Mr. Quarterback Whisperer, in his headset. Most talent he has ever had around him. It's no freaking wonder he would have the best season of his career. Whereas Dan Campbell, he's lost however many guys to freaking injury, and he still not only has a better record than Kevin O'Connell with that said veteran quarterback, but he also beats Kevin O'Connell twice. Think about that. We beat the Vikings twice. And think about how we beat the Vikings. We not only beat the Vikings at their home place when they were a perfect, I think it was 5-0. We beat them 31-29 at their home place. And then we beat them again to finish out the year to secure not only the division title, so everything's on the line, but we also secured the number 1 seed. How is it then if Dan Campbell, with all of the nonsense he's had to deal with all these guys that have been injured, beats a guy in Kevin O'Connell twice when it's high-profile games? When the opposing team, the Vikings, are 5-0, we beat them at their place, and then we beat them to secure the number 1 seed and the division title. How is it then that just because Kevin O'Connell was able to take a veteran quarterback and make him into a one-year wonder for the moment, how is that more impressive than what Dan Campbell did with a franchise that has never had the type of success that the Lions have had? The Vikings have had multiple seasons like what they've had this year. Just because you did it with a backup quarterback, that's not nearly as impressive as what Dan Campbell had to do. And if you think otherwise, again, you're an idiot. I have no problem saying that unabashedly. You are a freaking idiot if you think that's more impressive. Sam Darnold has how many years of experience as a quarterback? He should be able to step in and should be able to work very well with a guy like Kevin O'Connell, who is revered around the NFL as an offensive guru and a quarterback whisperer. Whereas Dan Campbell, being an offensive-minded coach, has got all these injuries on defense. And, by the way, we beat that guy, Kevin O'Connell, twice. But yet again, as I said and showed earlier, Campbell finished second in the voting for Coach of the Year. And not only did he finish second, it was such a vast difference in the votes. Campbell had like 280-something votes in terms of total points, whereas Kevin O'Connell pretty much almost outdid him by 100. So pretty much what the voters are saying is that, yeah, not only was it that Campbell was number 2, but it was such a far-off number 2 that it wasn't even close. Really? That's what you're going to go with? Okay. That's not what I just call being robbed. That is a massive, disrespectful snub. That is a huge snub. That is pretty much the AP voters in the NFL took a look at Dan Campbell and they gave him 2 of the biggest birds in the NFL and said, go pound rocks, buddy. We don't care. Okay. Just know something, NFL. Just know something, AP writers. Your opinion nowadays has become about as worthless as a bucket of spit. Because what you're doing is you continue to disincentivize and turn off people that are watching your programs, watching your stuff, and you're trying to make it to where it's like, listen, you guys aren't actually interested in giving awards and giving stuff to people who have earned it and deserved it. You're more interested in popularity contests. This is why people are boycotting the Super Bowl. This is why people boycott the freaking NFL honors. Because it's like, listen, you're not giving the awards to the best people, or you're not making sure that the best teams are the ones that are competing. You're incentivizing what makes you more money. Well, here's the thing. As you've already seen this year, with all the boycotts for the Super Bowl, it's starting to come back to bite you in the ass. And the more you do it, the more it's going to bite even harder. Just saying. But anyway, I've said my piece. I'm going to let it go. And with that, I'm going to end this episode and say thank you all for watching yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage you all to watch the next episode. Also encourage you all to do one of these 3 things: like, comment, and subscribe. If by chance you subscribed in the past and forgot to do so at the time, I want to highly encourage you all, please make sure you hit that bell notification icon so you guys never miss any more content I push out. Also want to highly encourage you all, please make sure you share the content with your Lions friends and family members. Share here on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Share anywhere and everywhere you possibly can. And also, if this is the first time you're watching me or you've watched me for the upteenth time, and I hope not only you got something out of this content, but you enjoyed the content, also hope you got something in your life that makes you happy, makes you smile. God bless, my friends. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.